Well, good evening once again, and welcome to the Monday Review Show. Just to remind you, if you'd like to make comments, please do so. There is a little comment section on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you just slide across and leave your comments, but as always, of course, please at all times be respectful, not only of the show, but especially of my guest. But you can ask questions and you can make comments on anything you want to. So we're going to kick off the show and sort of continue on, if you like, from last week, because the now famous or infamous offside decision that allowed Marcus Rashford to run on, even though he was clearly offside, and didn't score, as it turned out, but left it to Fernandes to score the goal for Man United. And it's still reverberating around the place on social media. I'm getting lots and lots of texts and messages, still people looking for clarification on it. So, Keith, good evening once again. And
good evening.
Sure you're feeling the reverberations, are you, from last week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a hot potato because, in a way, it's a subjective decision that the referee's got to make. I was interested because Dermot Gallagher, who tends to be the spokesperson of the PGMOL unofficially, on Sky, made it very clear that this was, in fact, in his opinion, an offside situation where Rashford should have been blown offside, and disappointing that he wasn't. So I think they've made that quite clear from their side. I think the PGMOL that they would expect an offside call. So the way I explained it in the newspapers was quite straightforward, in that if you've got an assistant referee of world-class standing in Darren Cann, who is long in the tooth in terms of running the line,
indeed,
who is also very aware and up to date with the application of the law from all aspects around the world, because he's a great communicator. So for me, when that flag went up, I've got to tell you, as a referee, I would automatically go for the flag and blow. But I've equally had many sort of discussions with referees who keep saying, "Show me in the laws of the game the foundation of why you make this decision," and it goes back to. We're looking about interfering with an opponent. And for me, it also says touched or played the law. Because being in an offside position is not an offence. So Rashford has every right to stand where he's standing, but it's now the judgment is he committed an offence? It's my view that when he's running alongside the ball, he's not touching it, but he's playing it because it's impacting on others. And I think the point at which I was saying the goal shouldn't be allowed is that Rashford changed his direction of his run and set himself as though he was going to shoot at goal. The goalkeeper, rightly or wrongly, but the goalkeeper now has set himself for a save from Rashford, and he leaves it and Fernandes scores. So,
but many people would argue on that, Keith, that
yes,
that the goalkeeper was not deceptive, and this is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper was not deceived because Rashford and Fernandes were actually side by side. If one was out there and the other was out there, you could understand maybe if he was deceived, he doesn't know which way to look. But people are saying to me the two players were together, so the goalkeeper's eyes were focused straight on
sure.
one or two players.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that this is where it becomes subjective, and where you can actually argue vociferously on both sides of the law, which flags up for me the very point that I've said in the past. ignoring this particular decision, that interfering with an opponent is an aspect of the offside law that I think is not firm in its, if you like, in its text and in its application. And it also then is further complicated by actually saying, well, he's not actually touched or played the ball. Now, what we have seen, because trends seem to happen, we have seen goals being allowed and disallowed where the player has not touched the ball, but he's been in an offside position. And of course, then you get into the argument about the flight of the ball and the path of the ball as it's heading towards the goalkeeper. And this is where the whole debate centers. And so for me, I have to tell you this. It doesn't look right, it doesn't smell right. And my gut says, because it's Darren Cann, I'm giving offside. In law, and I've looked at it on several occasions, and I think it's interesting because the week before we had Mo Salah. Mo Salah was standing well offside, like Rashford. But on this occasion, the ball coming towards him, the defender jumped to head the ball, and it glanced off the top of his head directly to Salah, who scored. And the reason that goal was allowed is because the defender had made a deliberate play for the ball. And FIFA have said they're going to tidy this up. I'm waiting for the text to actually say, are you changing the text? The guidelines that you issued last year, are you expanding on them? Because an act where you've got a player, you can have a player making a deliberate play, a defender, to kick the ball upfield because he knows that there's an attacker close by, potentially in offside position.
Yeah.
But I've had this debate many times. The psychological impact of that player being in an offside position has really no effect in law. It's an action. And therefore, I'm going to leave your readers and listeners in the same position, which is many referees around the world are still, as you rightly have said, are arguing about this particular incident, seeking guidance about this particular incident. And in a way, I'm disappointed that the only answer we got from the IFAB meeting was they were going to clarify the situation on deliberate play. They tend not to, what's happened yesterday, they tend not to bring into those discussions. So we might hear about it in a few months' time when another business meeting takes place of the IFAB.
Well, it certainly has my very, very good friend who's a sports writer as well and a stadium announcer, and he's done certain shows on radios and so on, Declan King, who's a big
Yes.
Manchester City fan.
Yes,
And,
yes.
He and I are such great friends, but he's still exercised about the whole thing. But
Yes.
wouldn't a solution to this whole problem be, Keith, this whole offside thing, that as soon as the player is offside, the flag goes up immediately instead of holding on and waiting for something to happen? When the ball was played through to Rashford, even though he didn't touch it, if the flag went up straight away, that would surely.
I'm quite clear in my mind. I'm very clear that as a referee, I would want my assistant referee to flag for offside immediately. And yeah, for sure, because I think that we're complicating the game with VAR. I think that we're running the risk of players being injured because of a delayed flag.
Yeah.
But what we have got here, and I go back, as I think Dermot Gallagher said very succinctly, and he and I are not always on the same page, but he said very clearly, if Darren Cann, a World Cup final assistant referee is flagging, I'm going with it. And if we actually then start getting into the detail, and we know that players should play to the whistle and not to the flag, but even that flag has impacted potentially on defenders making an action of trying to go at speed. I mean, one of the players literally stopped.
Yeah.
One of the defenders. And then
Yeah.
I think the other defender, as it got closer to the penalty area, there was a defender in reasonable proximity, and he gave up on it as well, because they're thinking, well, he's offside. So,
yeah, I think.
I mean, they've changed this law, Errol. They've played around with the offside law. When in fact,
it used to be one of the most simple laws of all.
Well, I mean, we used to use seeking to gain an advantage.
Yeah.
And position impacted on our decisions very clearly.
Yeah.
He's offside, he's seeking to gain advantage. Yeah. I love that. I didn't have any issue with that.
If Rashford had slowed down, I think the way that it turned out anyway, Fernandes caught up with it because he's so fit, and he caught up and scored. So if Rashford had slowed down and said, I'm offside, and allowed Fernandes, absolutely, then I would have allowed it. But the fact that Rashford went on, that's where the argument is going on.
But I mean, just to clarify, gaining an advantage is still in the law, but it's very specific. It's specific to a player being in an offside position at the point there's a shot on goal, and that ball comes back off a defender or off the goalpost. And again, that's another aspect of law where there's inconsistencies. If we used to say, if it actually hits a defender and goes to an attacker in offside position, he's played him on.
Yeah, and could that not be said also? It was in my head and went out of my head. Could that not also have been said that Salah was offside at the moment the ball was played?
Yes.
The fact that it glanced off I remember being told you cannot be played on.
Correct.
Unless the guy plays the ball back or something like that. But glance off in the defender does not necessarily play you on if you're in an offside position.
Now they use the word deliberate play, and if a defender deliberately plays the ball and it then goes to an attacker in an offside position, he's onside.
So in effect, he's been played on.
Correct. It's semantics about the word.
That's exactly what it is.
And people sit. Look, I don't want to have a go at the IFAB. It's
why not? Why not?
Well, I think it's a committee full of non-playing, non-active people. I think you've got Kalina there, who is probably at times outvoted by the administrators. It's not a referee that represents the English FA; it's the CEO. What amount of the CEO of the Football Association? Okay, fine, or the chief executive. What experience has he got of playing football? And therefore, they've got a business committee. They've got another committee that has a technical committee where there are players involved. I think people like Zidane and and Kalina and all that sit on around the thing. But eventually the decisions are made by the business committee, who are administrators apart from Kalina, who sits there.
Yeah. They mentioned about concussion of substitutes.
Oh. They've got this wrong. They've got this 100% wrong. You've got all the facilities at the elite level to be able to take a player off, to have him thoroughly examined, and in the meantime, the pressure of going down to 10 men is not there because you're operating with a concussion sub. They've rejected that. They can't buy into it. And I just cannot understand, for the love of me, because I'll tell you, down the road, and it's heading in that direction. I know, because I've been consulted on 2 or 3 occasions and declined to get involved. But I can tell you, there's some pretty big lawyers operating for various people whose, if you like, parents are now no longer with us, because they've passed away through dementia. And you know, the experts are saying they have sufficient proof that constant heading the ball has had a knock-on effect. So watch this space.
The concussion substitute, does that mean, like in rugby, it's a blood sub?
Yes.
It comes on for the duration of the guy's being treated, and then that guy who's being treated, if comes back on again, and the guy goes off.
Yes, and what it means is that in rugby, you'll often see the player going down the tunnel to have a thorough examination. That's the point. Yeah. It is the old question of, have you got sufficient time on the field of play to carry out an in-depth examination of someone suffering from concussion?
Okay, and just for clarification purposes, that blood or concussion substitute is not actually one of the 5 substitutions that you can make.
Correct. Yeah. You can actually you can bring him on, take him off. That's the idea.
Yeah. But he would have to be one of the subs on the bench.
Well, I think that I've seen paperwork that says it either way. I would suggest that you would have somebody just going on, and if the concussion is proven, that player can stay on.
Yeah. Handball. You say they were clearly happy with this law. Clearly happy with this law, the amount of controversy it creates.
They didn't discuss it.
They didn't even discuss it.
No. I mean, there was a decision this weekend in, I think, Glasgow Celtic, where the ball hit a defender and then took another defender by surprise, and a penalty kick was awarded. It was, and just use the word deliberate.
Yeah.
And clarify. And
again, that's subjective again, isn't it? In the opinion of the referee, it was deliberate.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, every handball now is being looked at in detail, and we've got players putting their hands behind the bike. We've got other players that are clever at deceiving the referee by clearly moving the body as though they're moving away and still sticking their hand out.
That's right.
So I think that if we stick with deliberate very firmly and say that we're looking for the ball, for the hand to move to the ball, then I think we've got a clarification. Then finally, a goal cannot be scored by an attacking player, either deliberate or accidentally, the ball last being played by the hand or arm. Yeah. And I think, okay, then that I've said it in about 3 or 4 lines, rather than a full page of trying to cover every conceivable action on a field of play.
Are you in favor of or a supporter of this new system that they're going to try at the FIFA Club World Cup in Morocco on the 1st of February, where the guys are going to be mic'd up and everybody can hear what they're saying, etc. When I say the guys, of course, I'm talking referees.
Yes.
Are you in favor of that? And also in Morocco, I'm not sure what language would it be speaking French?
I think
they'll be speaking.
I think I think English and Spanish are the 2 main languages of FIFA. So I assume that it'll be all in English. It'll certainly be in English when Anthony Taylor's the referee. So
does he not speak Moroccan, no?
Well, I don't know, but it comes from the Northwest. There's not many people. I shouldn't say that. I think at the end of the day, I'm waiting for the criteria to appear, because are we going to be able to listen in to the discussion that takes place between VAR and referee leading up to a decision being made? Or are we just getting this goal has been disallowed because it's offside, or this goal is being, I'm awarding a penalty kick for handball, I'm awarding a penalty kick for a trip. I mean, or are we going to listen to what's taking place at the monitor? We don't know.
In rugby, in other words, where the referee says, my on-field decision is a try, yes, for any reason why I should not allow it.
Yeah. And I think
on those lines.
Yeah. And I think if they were on those lines, then I think that's really good. Yeah. So let's open it up. Let's listen. But it's only going to be at the international level, and obviously the Club World Cup in Morocco. So it's going through an examination by FIFA, and FIFA will come out with all sorts of stats.
You're watching the Monday Review Show. We're on every Monday at this time from 7 p.m. UK time, and whatever time that is in your part of the world, you're more than welcome to join. There's a little space at the bottom right-hand side of your screen if you want to make comments, if you want to ask Keith or myself a question, please do so. What was my next point? Yeah, Keith, my goodness, the technical staff, particularly coaches, and the technical area. What in heaven's name is the technical area? This is a very rhetorical question because I know you know the answer. But what is it there for, and why isn't it being policed? Now, again, I want to stress and say to everybody out there, Keith and I would never deliberately run down, criticize, condemn referees. We were there. We know what it was like. So we know the situation. But my goodness, Keith, why are the fourth officials not policing the technical areas? I searched all day for a photograph of Jose Mourinho when he was at Chelsea. Yes. And he was at least 10 yards down the line towards the corner flag, out of his technical area, and he was standing there with his arms folded.
Yeah.
And the fourth official was on the halfway line and allowed him to do that. On the weekend, we've seen Mikel Arteta of Arsenal running up and down, gesticulating in oh my goodness. I thought he was going to lose his mind one time, but he's running up and down the line, and I state the line, not inside his technical area, but up and down the line, constantly outside his technical area, which he's not supposed to be, and the fourth official was standing there doing nothing.
Yeah, I think match officials effectively have got to change the mindset. I think we all start off by saying to the fourth official, look, you manage the technical area and I'll concentrate on the game, because that's the important bit, managing the game. I don't really want to be deflected from that by you calling me over. So I think in the pre-match, they're sort of saying, you're an experienced referee, you manage it. So, and what I think has happened is twofold. There is no doubt in my mind that FIFA, the IFAB, were concerned about how the technical area is being effectively managed by match officials. That is why I think they introduced red and yellow cards for the occupants of the technical area, because they're saying, look, we need to reinforce the official's role, either referee or fourth official, in the technical area. We're talking about 3 separate incidents with Arteta in as many weeks, in terms of cards being issued to him by the match official. We saw a red card, I think, issued to the Leeds United manager, and I know that he was fined around £15,000 and a 1-match touchline ban.
Small change, hey? Well,
a journalist gave me some information today that I'll share with you. I've not clarified it yet, but so take it on as I'm reading it.
Sure.
For managers, if they get 4 yellow cards, so that's 4 incursions through 4 different games, he gets a 1-match ban. If he has 8 yellow cards, it's a 2-match ban. And 16 yellow cards in total in a season means a misconduct hearing. So, look, how much is that a deterrent? None. I watched Arteta yesterday closely. He's a very animated manager, but a lot of them are. I think it's part of the modern game.
Well,
Justify to the fans have got passion.
Sure, yeah.
But he was hardly in the technical area. It was in that gap, that 1 yard gap between the touchline, 1 meter, and the edge of the technical area. That's where he was occupying the space. I was surprised that a very experienced referee and a guy who can normally, calm things down, Andre Mariner, didn't seem to get involved at all. He just stood there watching the match whilst Arteta was doing one. And so the whole aspect of the technical area is it's become a sideshow, and it's become a battleground where at times, instead of being a football referee, you're more like a boxing referee, the fourth official, separating not just the managers, but the technical staff, other coaches. I mean, there's a busload of them, isn't there, in the technical area?
Yeah.
And it's all got a bit out of hand. I mean, you and I operated when there was one man and a dog sat on the line or stood on the line, shouting at us occasionally or nodding their head in disagreement with the decision we've given. Modern referees are having to put up with this absolute abject nonsense that's tarnishing the image of the game.
Yeah, yeah. And the fourth officials then are suddenly becoming whipping boys since they can't get at the referee because he's too far away.
Yeah.
And the noise, you wouldn't hear what they're saying anyway. But now they're targeting the fourth official.
Explain to me what I've done. Yeah, I mean, why is that a penalty kick? Why is that offside? Why isn't that a foul? And all that goes with it. All these things, when ultimately somebody needs to tell these managers, look, you want the officials to do the job. And in law, again, in our day, the fourth official was just stood there doing nothing really other than putting the board up. Yeah, the laws of the game have changed.
Yeah.
He can bring to the attention of the referee any act of violence off the ball. And in that situation can be consulted by the referee. So for me, leave him to do his job. But, I think that the authorities, again, Howard Webber's taken over. I think there's just been a slight tightening up in the couple of 3 weeks he's been in charge. I suddenly think, well, just a minute, the referees are taking the action. They're not even going across and warning. They're pushing a yellow card out. I think David Coote in his game this weekend did the same. It's not a pleasant place, and I'd just like coaches to set an example, because the passion, if you like, that's overrunning and a fire that's starting is then, if you like, cascading to the players on the field. It's almost like, just a minute, if the manager's having a go, players will have a go.
Just one final point for this evening, Keith. Dissent. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Dissent and wasting time. Now, it's just appalling the amount of time, and we've spoken about this, but I just picked up a short video, or I took a short video of a player, compliments of Sky Television, just to give them a mention because I took it off their feed. It was Crystal Palace and Newcastle. And there was a free kick given. Craig Pawson was the referee. He's coming over to collect the ball, and the Crystal Palace player is bringing the ball, what appears to be, to where the free kick is about to be taken. And just as the referee is about to come, he kicks it away. Here it is here. See there now? And just the referee, and he kicks it away. I mean, it might be very small or very subtle, but it's what it represents, and you can see the referee looking after him as if to say, "What the hell are you doing? Or what's that about?" And he just
Yep.
kicks it away. Now,
Well,
that surely deserves a yellow card.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
look, what do you want it for? An act of dissent or time delaying the restart?
Yeah.
So, I do think at times that English referees try to be too friendly with players.
Oh, 100%, Keith.
And as a
100%.
result of that, they're belittled and can't see it. I think that act is undermining the authority of the referee and sending the wrong signals out to other players. And I think it's unacceptable. Number 19 should have received a yellow card, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should have.
It is, yeah.
But why didn't Craig Pawson call him back and saying, "What are you doing?" At least admonish him. If you're not going to give him a yellow card, at least admonish him and let it be seen that this is not allowed. But he didn't. Yeah. And because of that, I really do think that the referees, by not taking action there, are lowering themselves in the eyes of the player. Their authority should be above there. Yeah. And they're lowering themselves as being soft and being weak, no backbone, no guts. Just that one issue. But there are several of them and far too many for us to go into tonight. But just that one.
I think it's disappointing. And I do think that the referees at the very highest level have to set the standard, because it has an impact on referees at grassroots level. I think he's undermined the referee here. Yeah. I think it's very clear that Pawson had to do this, had to take some formal action.
Well, at least admonish him. At least call him back and say,
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you. I wasn't a referee that branded cards around, but I can tell you for that he'd have got a yellow. I wouldn't have hesitated. I wouldn't have hesitated. I'd have just said, and if he'd have said anything, I would have said, if you continue, the card colour is changing.
Now,
I'm just be very careful what you say.
Because I watched this game, and I'm not sure 100%, but I think that player may have already been booked. So if he was to be booked again, it's a red card. And many people, I'm sure, would have jumped up and down screaming and said, "Oh, it's a red card for a trivial offence." But the least he should have done is admonished him and said, stop it now.
In those situations, I used to bring the captain across. If I didn't caution and I saw a player was going a little bit out of control, I'd just either run alongside the captain or bring the captain across and say, "Look, I'm just telling you, this player is heading for going out of the game if he doesn't behave. So get the message in. You're aware. Do something about it." And I just feel that there are times when the referees are trying to be too nice, when in fact we've got a job to do, apply the laws. And I think generally Craig Pawson in that game, I watched it, had one of his better games by his standards.
Keith, as always, many thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
We'll do it all again next week. And thank you for watching out there. If you have any comments to make, please keep them coming in. And if you like the show, please share it with your friends and your acquaintances. Until next Monday, 7 p.m. from Keith and I, good night and God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks.